What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and a happy new year. This will be our first video of 2025. Do want to kind of apologize in advance. It's been a couple months since I've dropped out a video. Just got wrapped up with life and the holidays. You know how it goes. But we are ready to get the ball rolling for 2025. And we're going to start out with a huge announcement. Stand by. All right, so what is the big announcement for 2025? Well, first of all, you're probably looking at this and wondering, what is this box that I'm leaning on, and what is an Icebear street bike? I will get to that in a second. But the big announcement for 2025 is I'm going to participate in quite an event next year, or this year actually, starting the end of September and early October. It's called the Great Amercian Monkey 1000. Now you're probably thinking, what is that? Well, the Great Amercian Monkey 1000 is an event that's organized by a group of guys out of, I believe they're based in Michigan. It's called the Adventuremen's Guild. And every other year, I believe, they go on these big adventures in places where you wouldn't normally think you would go on monkey bikes or, CT70 clones, CT70s, Z50s, bikes like that. It's kind of a vintage theme, and it's kind of a carry what you need scenario. Well, this year, the event's being held out in MOAB, Utah, and we're going to go over a 7-day period. We're going to travel 1,000 kilometers, so 600 and some miles, and some change over 7 days. They limit the event to 30 participants. So I'm already signed up. I've paid my dues. I'm ready to go. They do encourage you to team up with others and go in, 3 to 5 person groups because you're kind of on your own. They're going to give you daily checkpoints that you have to reach, but how you get there is kind of on you. And they don't recommend that you go out by yourself and head out cross country through the desert, alone in the event that something were to happen. Speaking of something's to happen, while you're out there, you have to carry, all your own parts that you're going to need, fuel, sleeping arrangements, food. Some of the details are still unclear as they release a little bit every month. But what I think I do know for certain is there will be probably some camping involved at some point. And probably some days where we're really running, stretching the gas tanks to get to the next stop. So that's some of the things that we have to think about with that. The other thing is there are no chase vehicles allowed for individuals or for groups. However, the group that is putting this event on is going to have a chase vehicle that you can put one plastic tote, I'm assuming one of them about like this, worth of parts in that they will carry for you and deliver to you in the event of a catastrophic failure. And I would assume a catastrophic failure has got to be something along the lines of a blown engine or maybe a bent rim that can't be repaired or something like that. So right now I have teamed up, and some of you probably know the guy. His name's Mike Warner of Mini Bike Mike's YouTube channel. So Mike and I and another gentleman that he knows so far are a team of 3, and we're going to be riding this thing together. It's going to be quite the adventure because I have to drive to Utah with my bike and then participate in the event and then drive all the way back home to Alabama. And this event, as far as I can tell, it's not about who wins the event. It's about getting to the checkpoints and finishing in the end. That is what winning is in this event, from the best I can tell. But so I have thought long and hard about what I want to take for a bike. I've got plenty of CT70 options, but for something like this, I really didn't want to take out a vintage CT70 bike because most of mine are in pretty darn good shape, knowing that I'm probably going to beat the living crap out of it. So I like to go a little different route, and I'm not the only one that's going to do this, but I've purchased an Icebear Champion CT70 clone. That's what's in this box. And as far as the rules for the event go, You know, they prefer it to be kind of a vintage themed bike event. So they're looking for people to come in on Z50s or CT70s. The max engine size allowed is 150 cc's. I've got a 125 cc here. I think that'll be just right. It looks like they'll also allow up to a 12-inch wheel, which we'll talk about later once we get into the build on this. And they have come out this year, and they've said that they will allow the new modern style monkey bikes, and now the ST125 DAX that Honda just came out with, which are, you know, they're modern bikes with fuel injection, yada yada. But they encourage the participants to stick to the vintage stuff. So I did, for about an hour, think about getting a modern DAX, just for, you know, reliability's sake. But then I got to thinking about it. It's like, why? It's going to get tore up. It's going to get modded in ways that I probably wouldn't mod a normal bike that I have. So that's why I decided to go with the Icebear Champion. I got it on a Black Friday sale back in November from a company called MOAB, I believe, out of Texas. $1,500 delivered to the loading dock at my work on a truck. Came with a certificate of origin. It's completely titled, can be titled, street legal. By the way, for this event, the bikes must be street legal and titled. So there is that. You know, you can't just show up in any old, you know, Tractor Supply mini bike or something like that. It's got to be a legitimate motorcycle that's legal to ride on the road. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Pretty excited. I'm also excited about the long length of time I had to prepare for this, because, you know, there's a lot of things I've got to do different to this bike to make it not only, you know, bulletproof in terms of reliability, but also I've got to get some systems on it to be able to carry a lot of gear without making the bike, you know, unrideable at the same time. Also going to have to up the fuel capacity. There's a lot of things that we're going to go through here on the channel as we build this. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and I'm gonna pop the lid off of this thing. This will be, I cut a little window in the side, as you can see, to peek at it. But y'all are going to be the first ones to see this with the cover off. So let me take this cover off real quick and we'll check it out. All right, there you go. She is a beauty. It's almost like, you know, I got a brand new one back in, you know, the early 70s, but I've never had one this new. Now, granted, it's a Chinese clone, it's not the real thing, but if you've ever seen one of these in person, you know how close they are. Also, I'm not going to say it, but if you know anything about CT70s and you're paying attention to the color, I did order the black on purpose. We're going to do something special with that later on as well. But I'll tell you what, let me just pop you in here real quick and give you a nice close gander at this before we close this video out. All right, here we are coming in hot on her. We'll just start kind of going over some of the features real quick. Here's the front wheel, sitting back here for the time being. They haven't got that mounted up. It is neat the way they package these though, and you know, you notice the handlebars folded down just like Honda intended them to back in the day when you put them in the trunk of your car. But anyway, front wheel, you can see she's got a disc brake on her. We'll be sticking with that as the final build. It's got your standard $40 eBay muffler on it with the big old dog leg and the bracket you've heard me talk about before on other videos. It also has what appears to be a little catalytic converter built into the exhaust. That exhaust will be getting changed out probably for a Bart Motoco setup like I've got on one of my other CT70s. Yeah, it's loud, but I don't think it'll hurt anything. I'm not going to run this thing here. Just not my style. You know, ironically, with this being a black frame, the color combination there on that decal may mean some to some folks. I'll give you a hint: 1978 CT70. Look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. It does have a legit VIN tag on it here. I didn't mention, but it's electric start, 125cc, you know, life and knockoff, whatever you want to call it. To me, they're all about the same. I've got several different brands of these knockoff engines, and I can't really point to anything different between them as far as reliability goes, or parts for that matter. You can just see a really beefy aluminum swing arm peeking out here. That is an upgrade for this model year. Apparently there was a huge problem with these previously in the swing arm department, and you know, I've had an aftermarket aluminum swing arm before for a CT70. It wasn't nearly as beefy. Here you go. You got your control, standard controls up here. Here's your disc brake master, start button, whatnot. It does have one of those digital speedometers. I've got one of them on my 212 big block CT70. The seat, it's not the right style seat for what I would call a 1978, but it's a nice seat nonetheless. And I did get a kick out of the fact that it's even got the little shower cap on it, like most of the builders leave on their brand new seats when they do restorations. You can see down here is the front fender that has to be mounted up. This taillight monstrosity here and fender thing will be getting removed and replaced with a regular Honda style taillight and taillight bracket. These shocks, while they're cool, I guess, they don't really fit the retro style of the bike that I'm kind of after here. Although I would assume that this little reservoir thing is fake and not for looks. But I did see online where a guy actually cut one of these open, and turns out this actually it is something. Not sure what it's doing, but there is a passageway that goes between here and here. I'll probably swap that out for something pretty heavy duty, considering the type of riding that we're going to be doing with this thing off-road. Here's a better look at that swing arm again. It's really beefy. Let's see what else. Not sure what she's running for sprockets just yet, but we'll probably look at that and tune as necessary. Let's see, I did miss this. Came with an AGM battery, surprisingly. So I'm kind of anxious to see what that amounts to. If you didn't notice, on this newer style here, it's got the seat latch is on the side rather than having the little lever that you used to turn. I'll probably, to be honest with you, I'm not going to get that picky and swap that seat out. That's just money that I don't really need to spend, to be honest with you. It's a new seat. It is what it is. Here we are, the other side with the controls. Here's your carb setup. As you can see, she's fully California emissions compliant with all this goodness. That's coming off. This is coming off. This carb's getting replaced with a NIBI 22 millimeter, as well as an air filter that goes with that. That's a known upgrade for these bikes, and that's what we're going to do. Let's see. There's the caliper for the front disc brakes, and then you can see it's got what appears to be a decent front suspension setup. It's super tempting to go with the really nice inverted setup that I have from Bart Motoco on one of my other bikes. However, what I do know about that setup that I just mentioned, it is very heavy. in comparison to what you're looking at here. So if I can get by with this, maybe putting some heavier fork oil in it or something along those lines, that's exactly how that's going to go. And then it has a really, what appears to be a nice LED headlight. I'm anxious to see how bright that is, because that was supposed to be an upgrade on this model as well. Here you can see there's one of the turn signals that's mounted. This one was not bolted on, obviously, for shipping purposes. And then the rears, I'm assuming, are probably in that box. Those will have to remain. I'm going to run turn signals on it, although I may swap them out with something that's tucked in a little tighter to the bike, simply because of the type of riding that's going to be going on with this. I'm not looking to have anything unnecessarily protruding out from the bike that could get caught or broken off on something. So yeah, that's the quick overview. Came in a nice steel cage. The only thing I noticed was a little bit of rubbage right here where this had contacted the muffler. If I was worried about that muffler, I would have probably said something about it to the dealer I bought it from, but I'm replacing that anyway, and it's just going to be something that I might throw on a rider someday later on down the road, if that. So not going to make a stink about that. I'm going to deal with that. There is your standard chrome trim piece here. It just has a white protective film that'll need to be taken off. One other thing, if you hadn't noticed, is it does not have the standard CT70 skid plate that comes down. None of these do. And I'm not going to put one on it either. I am going to get a skid plate that comes up through here in this area, and that's going to be as much as I do. And I may throw an oil cooler on it. We'll see. I don't have an oil cooler on any of my other clone engines, and one of them, the 212, gets ran pretty hard. I've never had any issues with it. Oh, there's one thing I did want to point out. I'm really impressed at the beefiness of this foot peg setup. Like, I did not expect something that robust looking. So I think I'm going to stick with that as well. Not going to mess with it. But with all that said, that's what she is. And the next time you see this, we'll be putting it together. So I think that's about going to do it for the overview of the bike. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Hope you enjoyed the content today, and really appreciate you sticking around and watching our first video to kick off the new year. Also hope you're really excited about the major announcement we made. There's going to be a lot of content on the channel here coming up this year, specifically around this project and the event, as well as several other projects that we started last year that we didn't finish, and new ones that we've got coming in the door as well. So as always, if you liked what you saw here, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and pass it on to your friends, and thanks for watching.